Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for attending our council chambers and our council meeting today, 24th of September. We'll call the meeting to order, and I'm looking at attendance, and Councillor Graham sends his regards. And I'll reach out to the clerk for a moment of reflection, please.
May we be worthy custodians of all that has been entrusted to us. Help us to be concerned only for what will promote good government. May we bring to our council chamber minds that think and hearts that feel, always having respect for others so that we may serve the people of our city in a helpful manner and for the good of all.
Amen. Thank you. Be seated. Okay, so item number 3 on our agenda, disclosure of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof. Councillor McCall.
Thank you. 8B12, and I'll supply paperwork to the clerk.
Thank you. Councillor Panchak.
Yes, thank you. 8B5, it deals with acceptance of underground and water services in the Bell Creek Estate subdivision. I live in the subdivision and will be declaring a conflict.
Thank you. Anybody else? I will also be declaring a conflict on 8B12, the sign bylaw. One of the vendors is a supplier of ours for the signage, and I'll forward off to the clerk a formal. That was 3. So number 4, public meetings. Nothing scheduled for today. Number 5, reading and confirmation of the minutes of the regular council meeting of September the 10th, 2018. I need a mover. Moved by Councillor Miller, second by Councillor Thompson. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. So deputations, we have I have one small presentation, and we have 3 deputations to follow. As you can see on the deputation 6.1, with council support, I would like to officially proclaim June the 26th of each year be designated to Aidan Real Day in the city of Belleville in memory of Aidan's birthday and his long and hard battle with cancer. Just a small little note here, and then I'll call Wayne and Sarah to the podium because I have a certificate I'd like to present to you on behalf of your council and council's family and all of the families in the corporation of the city of Belleville. So just a small comment here. Aidan Real was a very courageous and strong young fighter who unfortunately lost his battle with cancer of August the 13th, 2018 at the age of 12. Aidan left this world way before his time, and we want to make sure that we always remember him and his tremendous fight here in the beautiful city of Belleville. So in recognition of Aidan's life, I would like to proclaim the 26th of June each and every year, which is Aidan's birthday, on behalf of the city of Belleville. Listen to you guys. God bless you guys. Some letters that was me, I'll toss you. I don't think we need photos. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you to the gallery and to our council too and the media. Item 6.2, Jennifer Bishop is here representing Highland Shores Children's Aid and will make a deputation to us. Is Jennifer here? Yes, she is. Hello. You can bring all the staff up.
Good afternoon, Your Worship and members of council. My name is Chrisanne Hansen, and I'm a managed access worker at Highland Shores Children's Aid. I'm joined here today with my colleague Jennifer Bishop, who's a resource worker at Highland Shores Children's Aid, and Connie Reed from the Children's Foundation. During the month of October, Children's Aid Societies across Ontario raise awareness about the important role the community plays in the prevention of child abuse and neglect through the Purple Ribbon campaign. Last year's Children's Aid Societies provided service to 43,000 families across Ontario. Highland Shores Children's Aid, covering Hastings, Northumberland, and Prince Edward counties, assessed 1,358 families for concerns about their children, with 637 of those families being provided with ongoing services and support. In Ontario, 89% of children who receive services from Children's Aid Societies do so because their families are unable to meet their physical and emotional needs. This means that the majority of families working with Children's Aid Societies are not related to the extreme abuse that most people associate with child welfare. The children and youth that we help live in families that are struggling with issues that can make parenting even more challenging than it already is. Some of these difficulties include mental health, addictions, social isolation, trauma, and extreme financial stress. Research shows that the impact of not meeting a child's physical, emotional, and social needs on an ongoing basis can be devastating and can lead to serious problems later in life. The kinds of crises that can impact parenting happen to families from all backgrounds. Unemployment, lack of housing and food, insecurity play an important role in family crises that lead to Children's Aid Society involvement. In 53% of CAS investigations in Ontario, families were experiencing these types of hardships. There are 38,000 children 15 years of age or under in the areas serviced by Highland Shores, and approximately 5.7 of those children come to our attention. It takes a community to care for kids. What can you do? Call Highland Shores if you have any concerns that a child or youth may be in need of protection or assistance. Your call to Children's Aid could be the most important call in a child's life. Connie?
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Connie Reed. I'm with the Children's Foundation. The City of Belleville has been extremely supportive to the Children's Foundation and to Highland Shores Children's Aid over the years. You help us bring our awareness that October is the signature month for everyone to wear purple, to show our support to prevent child abuse. It's a community that, in our community, it takes everyone's responsibility. It's everyone's responsibility to keep our children safe and well cared for. This year we have partnered with the Belleville Senators, and this Friday, September 28th, and Saturday, September 29th, for their preseason hockey games, will be our first Go Purple games with the Sens, and we're really excited about that. So if you're going to the Sens game this weekend, please wear your purple. If you don't own anything purple, contact me. I can help you out with that. We have t-shirts, hats, and our wonderful, wonderful friend, Tom Lafferty, has selected another purple tie this year. So, Your Worship, if you have a moment, it looks like your tie is, did gold already hit you up with a purple tie? You're so patient. So we also have some purple for fellow councillors, Jennifer Bishop, and we also have some purple pens, because I know quite a few of you probably have lapel pens. So Jennifer's just going to go around, if that's okay, that she can go in your chambers and present you with the purple ribbon. And then I spoke to your wonderful fire chief, and he's allowed us to put our magnets on the back of fire vehicles that are not aluminum,
Excellent.
that this will stick on. And I've connected with the Belleville Police Services as well, and they're on board to put our magnets to show awareness. So thank you very much for your amazing support. So we would like council to declare October Child Abuse Prevention Month. We would also like your permission for us to put our purple ribbons on your lamppost downtown. And then we also have the purple car magnets. And if you have any questions, Mark Cartouche, the Executive Director with Highland Shores Children's Aid, is here with us this evening. So if you have any questions, we would be very, very happy to answer them.
Thank you very much. Any questions from the floor, from council? Seeing none, thank you very much for everything you do for our community and our families and our children. It means a lot. You have a number of events and you have a pile of volunteers. And you know what? And we've had the pleasure of coming to a lot of it, and you put a lot of smiles on children's and families' faces, and we're very happy and very proud of the relationship we have with you guys. So thank you for everything you do for our community.
Thank you.
So I just get the resolution on the floor that the deputation representing Highland Shores Children's Aid regarding October being Child Abuse Prevention Month and Dress Purple Day on October 24th, 2018 be received. Moved by Councillor Denier, second by Councillor Boyce. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you very much. Enjoy the afternoon. 6.3, representatives from Pentium Inc. and the Belleville Transit Advisory Committee will do a deputation on a world-class project that we have in Belleville, Ontario.
Good evening, everyone. Mr. Mayor, councilors, senior staff. I'm just going to take a quick opportunity to introduce the new project that we launched a week ago today on Monday night. It is a on-demand bus hailing service that our passengers can utilize any electronic device to request and schedule a ride on our vehicles. This software is brand new to the industry in North America at the very least, and it was developed by Pantonium, who is here tonight to give you a brief explanation on how it works. And I'd like to turn this over now to Jeremy.
Good.
Thank you, Paul, and I appreciate the opportunity to give you guys a quick update on this project. Really quick, Pantonium is a startup technology company based in Toronto, fully Canadian, and all the technology is developed in Canada. Through the support of Belleville and Ontario Centers of Excellence, we've been able to develop cutting-edge technology that is, like Paul said, this is the first of its kind in North America. I could say the globe, I couldn't validate that, but it's quite possible because this is extremely complex stuff. So right now we have been working a lot in patient transport for last mile delivery of patients to their appointments and things like that. This is the first implementation in transit for this platform. The way it works is through any web-connected interface, whether it's your phone, tablet, computer, and actually even before 4 p.m., people can call in and request a ride for the evening route. So starting at 9 o'clock through the end of the evening, you can request a ride and a bus will come and pick you up at the time that you've requested. Or you could say, I want to be dropped off at a particular time because I need to get to work or a certain appointment, and then the system will go backwards and figure out what the best time is for you to get picked up. And it's basically taking in all of the inputs and creating a plan for the bus. And when you think about this, a lot of the technology that's available today in transit and other delivery technology, people typically do that the night before. So you get all the orders in, you plan it that night, and then it's ready to run the next day. The difference in this software is that it runs in real time. So every new trip that comes in or new request comes in, it re-optimizes the entire plan for that bus going forward. And it prioritizes things a different way, and I don't want to get into all the different technology and how it works, but just saying that it's quite a leap forward for this industry, and we really appreciate Belleville's support on that. And we're going to be continuing to develop it and update it and make it a great service for your constituents. Let's see. We soft launched last Monday. We're still kind of in a pilot phase and will be for several months. So definitely appreciate any feedback that you're receiving. If any of you have had a chance to try it out, we'd love to hear about it. I know Paul and his team are working diligently to make sure that the drivers are up to speed and also getting the word out to the citizens of Belleville that this project does exist and that they can start making use of it. Here's a really quick example of the screenshots that a rider will see. So you can request, it's all bus stop related still, so no one's coming to door-to-door service. This is not like a glorified taxi provided by the city. We're still trying to stick with bus stops because these buses are very long. We don't want to get buses stuck on cul-de-sacs and things like that. So we're sticking with bus stop pickup at this point. And so you can basically select when the bus stop you want to get picked up from, the one you want to get dropped off to, and the time that you either want to get picked up or dropped off at either one of those locations. You can also go to a map and pick a stop from there. And once you've completed your request, the app will update on the status of your request. So just because it doesn't say that you're en route immediately, it is being scheduled and worked on, then the rider will get an update. I talked about the innovation already, about the real-time nature of this service. And I just want to say, again, thank you for supporting it, and we look forward to continuing the partnership.
Excellent. Questions from the floor? No questions from the floor? Councillor Miller.
Thanks, Your Worship, and not a question so much. This is exciting stuff, and I think the fact that it has been grabbed not only through local media, but right across the country, and I understand it's going to hit the national this week. Is that right, Paul?
We're scheduled to be on the national Friday night. They're going to send me a confirmation.
The fact that it's somewhat groundbreaking in nature, and the fact that Belleville is at the forefront of it. We have a small transit system that's going to blow the doors off 1 million riders this year, which for our community is a lot. But the fact that we're forever attempting, and this council's been very supportive in the innovative ways that we have upgraded our service in recent years, and let's face it, technology is driving all of us these days, so why not allow it to drive some of our bus system late at night. Paul, I don't know if you'd like to add what kind of response, because as pointed out on the slide, it's been a soft launch so far. We've told people it's happening, but haven't pushed too hard to try and work the bugs out of it to make sure that we've addressed any kind of issues that may have cropped up. It's only been going a week, but I'd like to ask Paul if he wouldn't mind just updating us on how it's gone over.
Certainly. It was a soft launch because the product is so new and so different for us. We launched it softly so that we could make sure we had a solid platform to operate on. And Pantonium has been fantastic from day one. On-time delivery with a rock-solid product that we've had no operational issues with since we launched. We now have 41 registered users on the service, and that is growing daily. Is there 90 now? We're up to 90 now.
All right, fantastic.
Already. The access to the app is through www.btletsgo.ca. Starting tomorrow, once we get a chance to settle down with IT, our website for the city and for transit will be updated with all of the login information and a help website as well to help get people moving.
I'd also like to point out, and thank you to Jeremy for having the faith in Belleville to go ahead with this project, but also for Paul and Trish and Mel with our staff that have really embraced this to help make it all happen. We have a very small management staff with Belleville Transit, although we did add somebody in the last year, that being Trish Cook, and they're doing wonderful things for our system, and we're looking forward to seeing how this develops and grows and where it's going to lead to in the rest of the industry. So thank you very much.
Good, excellent. Paul, can I just get you just to brief council and the gallery and the media on Route 11, just to refresh their memory? I don't want to catch you by surprise, just kind of walk them through Route 11.
Route 11 was initiated this January past. It'll be a year this January it's been in service. It is our industrial late night route, initially designed to bring workers home after a late shift, and operates from weeknights from 9:30 p.m. until midnight. Saturdays it operates from 7 p.m. till midnight, and Sundays from 6 p.m. till midnight. Our ridership on that is about 1,500 passengers a month, and with the introduction of this app, we hope to make it more convenient and easier for anyone in Belleville to not have to pre-plan their night. They can just go onto the app, book their ride at last minute, and get out and get going. So it should increase our ridership. from that 1,500, even higher per
Excellent.
month.
Excellent. Councillor Thompson?
Yeah, so when you book to be picked up, does it change it uses the same route on the bus, does it?
No.
No.
That's the uniqueness of this. Right now, with the 1 hour service route that we operate, if you were to get on in the industrial park, approximately 5 to the hour, and if you lived in the southeast part of the city, it could be an hour plus before you got home. What this app does is it optimizes each and every trip, no longer dedicated to a fixed route. It will optimize every pickup and drop off to get people picked up and dropped off as quickly as they can. And with that in mind, that will reduce our fuel usage, reduce wear and tear in the vehicle, and it's going to reduce the buses operating lower than ideal capacity.
Thank you.
Excellent. And just for media coverage, last week we were in the Financial Post. I think we're on Breakfast TV.
We were,
And
yes.
so congratulations to Paul and all the staff. Thank you very much. Good stuff. Excellent. Okay, so I just need a motion to receive the deputation regarding the scheduling of the new transit program. Moved by Councillor Miller, second by Councillor Deniers. All in favor? That's carried. Very nice. Very classy. We're moving on up. Okay, we have Carolyn Knutson will make a deputation to council regarding the animal traps in the city of Belleville. Good, hit that little button.
Good afternoon.
Thank you.
I'm not Carolyn Knutson, I'm Doug Knutson,
Okay,
but I am speaking on behalf of my wife Carolyn and Chris and Susan Finkel. And everything we have to talk about stems from an incident on July 12th, and as I'm a video producer, it's best to show you with a video. So I think we have that lined up. Well, we like to go for a walk in the evening, pretty much every night in the winter or the summer or spring, fall. One of our favorite walks is around Stanley Park. So this one evening in July, we were doing a walk just before dusk, and one of the features of the walk is to look into the marsh and see if you can spot the beaver. Well, we've been doing this for years. There's been beavers, dams up against the culvert. We've noticed that the beavers come and go, didn't really think too much about it. This night we walked by and sure enough there's the beaver bobbing along, and my wife happened to notice that he wasn't moving, and he seemed to be bobbing for air every minute or so, but always within like a 2 or 3 foot radius.
And that's when I said, I think that beaver is stuck. We need to go get help, and we need to get help now because it was suffering.
As we're pulling in our driveway, we see Carolyn and Doug Knutson looking like they needed something.
Wanting to know if we had a kayak and knew if anybody we knew had a kayak. Just picked them up, got home with them at 11 o'clock the night before. They'd been bored for 2 years.
They brought their truck with the kayak, we put it in the water, and by this time it's pitch dark. The mosquitoes are thick.
So we did get Doug out into launch him from the shore into the little creek area, I guess it would be, and up. He came alongside the beaver.
I honestly didn't know what we were supposed to do. I paddled out towards the beaver and he thumped. He was in such a panic, he thumped into the bottom of the kayak, almost felt like he was going to upset me. And then finally I paddled up right beside him, and he came up just like this, and just frantic, looking in. I'll never forget the look in his eyes, just frantic to get out of that water. And I didn't know, I guess you had brought the gloves by this point. I had gloves, but I said, should I pick him up? Should I haul him into the kayak? He almost came up on his own. But I realized, you know, they have sharp claws, they have sharp teeth, maybe not a wise idea. We had a boat hook with us, and I started fishing around the bottom and hooked something and brought up a wire. And I thought, well, this is it, he's caught on a wire.
I looked to my right at the fence, and there was a wire on the fence, and it was a very thick wire. So I thought, maybe this has something to do with it. So I started to pull this wire, and I actually was pulling Doug and the beaver. Well, I wasn't pulling Doug, but he was coming because he said that you're pulling us all that way, if the beaver's coming that way. So I stopped because I wasn't sure if the wire was attached to his foot was caught on it somehow. I don't know. So we stopped. And it wasn't until then that Doug, now that he's close, he's fairly close to me now in front, that he reaches and pulls up the tail because the beaver it was scared and wanted to head to the rushes. He had the tail of the beaver. He says, look at the size of this tail. And then he pulls it up and he goes, there's a trap on the beaver's foot. And we all just kind of stepped back and went, can't believe it. It was a trap.
So right away, the situation changed. We know this is intentional. This was a set trap. And how we got the trap open, I still don't know how it was done. The thing was incredibly strong. There's 2 springs on either side. I imagine you have to stand on them or use both hands to open it.
Doug had said, I don't know how to open this trap. And I'm like, I don't know how to open it either. And he wasn't, 20 seconds and he figured out how to release the snaps and out went the foot.
That the beaver pulled his leg out and scrambled up on shore. And the poor thing sat there panting and gasping for breath.
He was surrounded. We were in his space and he was not concerned the slightest about us.
And he was making this sound like a motor. And from the kayak, I said, I couldn't really tell if that was coming from the road or somewhere else.
I distinctly remembered Doug saying, "Where's that noise coming from?" It was this really heavy breathing, it was a terrible noise. And I said, "That's coming from the beaver, Doug." And he couldn't believe it.
In the picture, you can actually see that his leg is damaged. It was bleeding. And we didn't know if it was mangled, if it was broken, what the condition was. I backed the kayak away, and as soon as I did, he plopped in the water, and that was it. That's the last we saw of him that night.
So now we're just kind of doing some exploration as to what it was caught on and how it was held there. So we pulled a rather large boulder with this very heavy cable wrapped around it and a chain also attached to it and the trap attached to the chain. So we got that up onto shore and we were all looking at it and I still can remember Doug looking at the trap and trying to figure out how he opened it in the short time that he had it, and he couldn't open it. And I laugh when he said, "How did I open this before and I can't open it now?"
I knew nothing about trapping before this.
And I didn't know anything either.
To me, it looked like something a poacher would have set out.
What did you think, Susan, when you saw it?
Well, when I saw the trap, I thought this just kind of comes from like medieval times. Like I've never seen a trap, so that's what came to my mind was where did this thing come from?
That beaver had to have been in extreme pain. If a grown man can't open that trap, that's pinched. That's quite a trap.
Apparently, this was a legal trap. And it's what is called a kill trap or a drowning trap. And this is apparently how beavers are managed in Ontario or Canada. A hole is created in the top of the dam and the trap is set in shallow water, so as the beaver who is attracted to the sound of rushing water comes up to repair that spot, he steps in the trap. He right away bolts for deep water and he carries the trap down a wire, which is a one-way wire, down to an anchor. And it's supposed to hold him there until he drowns. Now this is a humane kill trap, supposedly. It can take 15 minutes to drown a beaver this way, because beavers can hold their breath for a very long time. So you can just imagine the terror and the horror that they're going through trying to get out of this trap for 15 minutes. In our situation, this wasn't working at all. He could reach the top, it wasn't deep enough. He would have been left there for, I think it was over 12 hours at least, and would have been just left there to drown until he tired out.
I couldn't believe that that there was a trap. I mean, our kids have gone down and played in that area. Of course, you don't hear that until afterwards. There's dogs that probably go down in that area, so it could have been kids, dogs, anything that could have been in that trap and not the intended beaver.
We've talked to people since then, and they thank us profusely for what we did, and said, that was very heroic. Well, you know what? It's not heroic. It has nothing to do with being a hero. It has all to do with, you're just being human and just looking out for something.
I don't like this happening in my city. I don't like this happening in my backyard. It's not acceptable. Is this the way we treat our national symbol?
What we witnessed was truly horrifying. Our rescue effort was emotionally and physically stressful, and we did not ask for this. My wife called 911, was put on hold, so we were on our own. Shortly after, we were all investigated by the MNR, and we were potentially going to be charged for interfering with the trap, and thankfully this was not followed up.
The good news, our beaver survived. That was him in the video. The first time we saw him after the attempted trapping was 6 days later. Apparently his mate had been previously trapped, but by mid-August, he had a new mate. This incident has generated a lot of neighborhood interest, and nightly gatherings at the culvert were common throughout the whole summer. Social media has generated widespread attention, and an online petition has today received over 50,000 signatures from around the world.
We find this kind of trap cruel and inhumane, as it causes terrible prolonged suffering. As they are indiscriminate, these traps pose great risk to people, pets, and other wildlife. We don't know if trapping at other locations in Belleville is still ongoing. In fact, I heard a rumor this morning that a beaver was trapped in city limits just last week. There are other options for trapping readily available that potentially let people live in harmony with nature. We are very happy to say that one option, a beaver baffler, has been installed at Hague Road, and we wish to thank Councillors Boyce, McCaw, and City Manager Joe Reed and his staff for their efforts in this regard. We have yet to see the device working as it should, but we remain hopeful.
If Belleville proactively engages in strategies to allow nature and people to peacefully coexist, we could be a shining example to other municipalities across Canada. Therefore, we propose that the City of Belleville prohibit the use of body-gripping traps, or at the very least, that they be used only as an absolute last resort. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you. Good presentation. Any questions from the floor? Seeing none? Okay, I just thank you very much, gentlemen. Great video, too. I just need a motion to receive and refer to 11-1. Moved by Councillor Boyd, second by Councillor McCaw. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you very much. Okay, item number 8, Committee of the Whole. Motion to go into Committee of the Whole and hear and consider reports, passings, and recommendations with Councillor Cart in the chair. I need a mover. Mover, Councillor Denier, second by Councillor Panchak. All in favor? That's carried. There you go, sir.
Uh, 8A reports, we have none, so we'll go to 8B consent items. I note the conflicts of members, so I'll go around. Councillor Panchak?
No, thank you.
Councillor Thompson?
No, thank you.
Mayor Christopher? Councillor Miller?
No, thank you.
Councillor Deniers? I'm not looking for conflicts. 8B12. Councillor Boyce? Councillor McCaw?
No, thank you.
So I'll have a motion that the following agenda items be approved with the exception of 8B5 and 8B12. Councillor Miller, Councillor Deniers, all in favor? Motion's carried. So I'll go to 8B5 as Councillor Panchak has declared a conflict. And it's in relation to acceptance of underground and water services, Bell Creek Estates, Linton Park Road subdivision, owner Stan Klemensick, builder limited, development technologist report APS-2018-23. Resolution reads that a bylaw to approve and authorize the acceptance of certain underground and water city services in Bell Creek Estates, Linton Park Road subdivision be prepared for council's consideration. Councillor Thompson? Councillor McCaw? Any questions? All in favor? That motion's carried. So I'll go to 8B12, a note that Councillor McCaw and Mayor Christopher have declared pecuniary interest. AB12 is the sign bylaw amendment, portable signs, Chief Building Official Report, CBO-2018-06. And the resolution reads that a bylaw to amend bylaw number 2006-55, sign bylaw, to eliminate off-premises portable signs be prepared for council's consideration. Moved by Councillor Deniers. Can I get a seconder? Councillor Miller? Okay. Any questions? Councillor Deniers.
So this matter came through some neighborhood complaints about specific areas in the city. And because the sign bylaw is the ambit of the Planning Advisory Committee, it came before the Planning Advisory Committee to move through the appropriate channels to come to this council for an amendment to the sign bylaw. So as the report states, the sign bylaw was implemented in 2006 and really hasn't been amended since then. So what I would like to ask, and I know that our CBO, Ted Marichek's in the audience, and I'd like to ask him if there has been any public consultation as a result of his report that he's written, 8B44. I think his answer is going to be no, and I'm just wondering whether or not that the public consultation process should be the appropriate way to go before this council amends the sign bylaw, but with the intention of you know, after a public consultation, that we make the appropriate decision on whether or not that we allow or eliminate off-premises portable signs. So could I have CBO Marichek to the podium, please, and ask if he...
With the consent of council, Mr. Marichek.
Good evening.
Thanks, Ted. So the question is, hopefully you heard it, whether or not that this council should be having a public consultation process before we make a final decision on this amendment.
So through the chair to Councillor Deniers, should you have a public consultation, that's entirely up to you. There's no legislation that mandates that. I know there was extensive consultation with the public at the time back in 2006 when the bylaw was implemented, so it's probably a reasonable approach.
Okay. So I would amend that motion then and refer this for public consultation.
A seconder for that amending motion. Councillor Boyce. Anybody else want to make comment? Councillor Boyce.
Thank you. And I certainly agree with the concept of the whole bylaw, but as Councillor Deniers has said, this is a situation where there's been no public consultation. My understanding, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is that these companies are paying permit fees to Belleville currently to have these signs in those places. Is that correct?
Through the chair to Councillor Boyce, yes, there is a monthly permit fee that is applicable for portable sign.
Right. So they're not necessarily being placed necessarily illegally. We're going through a permit place. So I think it's only fair to all companies involved that they at least be given an opportunity to state their case, and the public as well gets an opportunity to state their case. And that's why I will certainly agree with Councillor Deniers' motion.
Councillor Thompson.
Yeah, and I agree with the public consultation. So will we have a drafted bylaw or examples of a bylaw when we have the open sessions? Or will the open sessions come first and then a draft of the bylaw?
Through the chair to Councillor Thompson, we can do that however you would prefer. I know the last time, I believe there was extensive input from the community and from the stakeholders outside of this environment. I know that was done specifically directly with the stakeholders, and then at that point, there was a recommendation to council with respect to the bylaw.
Many recommendations.
Any other comments? Councillor Boyce.
And I forgot to ask, no, I noticed there's been some areas that have been in question that, are we following through with the current bylaw that's in place? I notice I've gone to some areas and you know, I've seen a number of signs put out by individual companies that, in my opinion, aren't following our set of rules. So it creates like that there's more signs per what we have allowed in a specific area. Have we gone out and actively gone to those companies and find them or asked them to remove those signs?
Through the chair to Councillor Boyce, certainly anytime we're aware of a sign that's been placed either without a permit or incorrectly, a permit has been required if it's eligible, and secondly, we have had signs removed. So bylaw does actively enforce the bylaw with respect to portable signs.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Thompson.
Yeah, back to the question. So if we have a public open house then, and then draft a bylaw, would there be an opportunity to have a public open house with the bylaw that we're preparing after our first open house?
Through the chair to Councillor Thompson, so my suspicion would be that those companies who are in the business of renting portable signs would probably not look all that favorably upon the proposed amendment because it would probably eliminate a chunk of their business. However, you know, as I said previously, we can do the public consultation however you would prefer it to be done.
Any other comments? So the resolution as amended refer for public consultation. All in favor? Carried. And then I need all in favor on the original as amended. Carried. Eight C is council information matters. Council may adopt consent items by one motion, but prior to consideration of such motion, members may request that specific items be removed from consideration under such motion, and council shall consider such items individually. Councillor Panchuk?
No, thank you.
Councillor Thompson?
No, thank you.
Mayor Christopher?
I'm good, thank you.
Councillor Miller?
No, thank you.
Councillor Daniels? Councillor Boyce?
No, thanks.
Councillor McCaw? So I'll get a motion on 8C2 then. Councillor Miller, Mayor Christopher, all in favor? Carried. 8C1 is the building section month-end report. Motion to receive. Councillor Daniels, Mayor Christopher. Councillor Daniels.
Once again, as Chair of Planning, I just wanted to congratulate staff for this report. They've all been working hard according to the numbers here. We're at $28,089,0119 in 2018 for the same for the month of August, as opposed to $6,485,995 in 2017 with the same amount of permits. So we have our construction value has increased substantially, and what was that number? 475 through August, from January to August. So thank you very much, Director Beauvais and your staff for working so hard. And that's just regarding the residential component.
Any other questions or comments? All in favor? Motion is carried. I need a motion to rise and report. Councillor Panchuk, Councillor Boyce, all in favor? Carried.
I hope I get an easy one like that.
Oh, you will. 2 weeks before the election.
Okay, so that takes us to our bylaws, first reading of the bylaws. If it's a consent of council, I'll read the numbers. 2018-148, 149, 150, 151, 152, 153, 154, 155, and 156. First reading of the bylaws. Moved by Councillor Carr, second by Councillor Thompson. All in favor? All opposed? That's carried. Thank you. Second reading of the bylaws. Any discussion? The numbers are before you. 2018-148, 149, 150, 151, 152, 153, 154, 155, and 156. Second reading of the bylaws moved by Councillor Miller, second by Councillor Carr. No discussion. All in favor? That's carried. And the third and final reading of the bylaws, 2018-148, 149, 150, 151, 152, 153, 154, 155, and 156. Moved by Councillor Miller, second by Councillor Carr. All in favor? All opposed? That's carried. Thank you. Any new business from the floor? I can't see, the sun's in my eyes. Seeing none. We have a motion before us. I'll read it out. Oh, and Councillor McCaw's motion. 1 second here, I gotta turn my page. Got it. That the use of animal leg hold traps be banned in the city of Belleville. Moved by Councillor McCaw.
If possible, I'd like to make a slight amendment to that, if I could, on recommendation from staff. The change to be that the use of leg hold traps and body gripping devices be banned within Ward 1 of the city of Belleville. If I have a seconder
Yeah,
for that.
I'll get you a second, and then I just need you to say it one more time. I'm sorry, I didn't hear the, okay, so I have a seconder on that, Councillor Boyce. Can you just, one more time, I'm sorry, repeat
Sure.
that?
The use of leg hold traps and body gripping devices be banned within Ward 1 of the city of Belleville.
Okay, and we have a seconder. Okay, discussion, Councillor Pancha, excuse me. Oh, I had Councillor Boyce was recognized as seconding that. Okay, any discussion on the resolution? And I'll ask Councillor McCaw. You can have the floor.
Can I speak to it?
Of course.
Okay, thanks. Obviously, it's been recently brought to our attention that various animal control services and legally mandated trappers are using various inhumane methods of trapping animals, including the leg hold traps, as noted by the deputation, and body gripping devices. Obviously, based on the deputation, you've had an idea of what the leg hold traps do. Obviously, they're designed to basically hold the leg of a beaver, submerging it into the water, with the end result being a slow, inhumane drowning. Body gripping traps are different in nature, however, even more extreme, whereby the jaws of the trap snap around the body, head, or extremity of an animal, injuring it or killing it, in some cases in a very slow, painful way. 4 million animals die in traps every year, the innocent animals that are unexpectedly trapped by accident. During a quick search of the internet, I found one website with 74 reported cases of family pets being caught in leg hold traps and body gripping devices with devastating results. Some animals were forced to chew their own legs off to free themselves from the trap. In a matter of 3 minutes, I found 74 instances alone. What's more upsetting was the one case, which I have a copy, and I'm sorry, I wanted to bring a copy for everyone, but I ran out of ink, was the case in Sterling, the neighboring community of Sterling. Back in about 2014, there was a medium-sized dog off the leash walking on Heritage Trail with its owner. As such, it was found, I don't know whether it left the trail or what happened, but its head was caught in the trap. The owner desperately tried to free and save her dog, and sadly, the dog didn't survive. For some, they may find this trapping acceptable practice, but I ask you to consider the following if you think this is acceptable. If these traps have the ability to snag trap, snare your family pet, consider what they'll do to a child, or what has been done to a child already. I think there have been some cases of reported injuries where children have been found snagged in some of these traps. There are other safe and humane methods of trapping. I believe that by the City of Belleville declaring a moratorium on these types of unsafe and inhumane practices, as other communities have already, alone it will force anyone, including those who are legally permitted to trap, find safer, more accepted methods of trapping animals. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Boyce.
Thank you, Your Worship. What really struck home to me on this whole issue, besides the barbaric use of the traps, was the proximity to the sidewalk. This was an issue where I remember as a kid growing up playing in Bells Creek, playing in the area. This was an area where not even 5 seconds from the sidewalk that you would walk was a trap. And I've seen dogs, you know, I've seen dogs with longer leashes that could get down there. I've seen kids that have been playing right in that proximity. And God forbid if we had got a kid in that trap or a dog. Like, I mean, it's just beyond acceptable in my opinion. So I without hesitation, I will support this use of traps in Ward 1.
Thank you. Councillor Thompson?
Yeah, one question. Why just Ward 1? Are they used for, these traps used for other reasons outside in the countries? Just a question.
Yes, they are used in Ward 2, probably quite a bit more frequently, being more rural use. Probably less likely to find a dog or a child trapped in them, as opposed to, say, a subdivision, which we've noted could have easily caused some pretty damaging results to a child.
I'll respond to that, Councillor Thompson. That probably should be answered by staff. You know, when you ask technical questions like that, no due respect, I don't think we're trap experts around the table, so that's something.
I was looking for direction from staff.
Well, that would be coming if you elect to get a detailed staff report, but I'll recognize some questions from the floor. Councillor Miller, you have a question about the resolution?
Yes, thank you, Your Worship, and it is through you to staff. One of the things that also struck me by the deputation, Mr. Knudsen, was that this was an MNR function, Ministry of Natural Resources, and that they indeed might be facing some charges, which certainly concerns me as well. Usually the province trumps the municipality. If it's an MNR issue, do we as a council, and I support the resolution, do we as a council have the jurisdiction to do it?
Okay, so now we refer that to staff. I'm looking at Joe, and I don't want to get you at a disadvantage now.
Through the chair to Councillor Miller. The MNR does regulate trapping as an industry within the MNR Acts. There are I think some regulations within the Act which permits a municipality to ban certain activities within it, and one of them would be banning a moratorium on trapping within its jurisdictional boundaries.
That's good to hear. I guess the rest of it has to play out, but as far as charges against Mr. Knudsen and his neighbor, that disturbs me. It was a humane act, and does it? Do you, Mr. Reid, have any idea how that's proceeding, or if it will proceed?
My understanding is that there will not be any charges laid.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
I'm recognizing Councillor Panchak.
Thank you very much. I'd like to congratulate Councillor McCaw for bringing the motion forward, and I certainly support it. I am concerned about the humane treatment of animals, particularly by the City of Belleville, but I'm also very concerned about the safety of the community, more specifically children and domesticated animals. I lived in the Stanley Park subdivision for 17 years and walked that stretch of Hague Road almost daily. I have seen turtles lay eggs there. We've seen all kinds of. The children are fascinated by it. They want to get near there, and I was unaware over the years that, as Mr. Knutson said, that we would see beavers from time to time and then we wouldn't see them. And I just thought, making an assumption which was incorrect, that they were moving along. And so now I can see that over those years, those beavers were being disposed of. This summer in July, since I've moved out of Stanley Park and across Farley Avenue, I don't make it down to Hague Road quite as often. But the summer in July, I was stopped by a resident on Oak Ridge Boulevard who brought this matter to my attention. When they told me about it, I contacted Mr. Marisek, who's our chief building official, dealing with our animal control bylaws. And I spoke to Mr. Reed, and in both cases, I expressed my concerns about the fact that we are using these devices to deal with beavers. I expressed them my thoughts, and I got the explanation about the fact that the MNR licenses Pierce Animal Control. They're allowed to use these devices, and this is the standard practice, I believe, is the recommended practice for dealing with beavers. But I expressed to them that I just found that to be unacceptable, and that we need to, in 2018, find a different way to deal with this. I recognize that beavers can also be a little bit of a menace. They were blocking the culvert. There were people's properties that were at risk in terms of flooding. We all understand that, and I applaud staff for making the changes in the baffle pipe. But I just think that in 2018, this is not something that I'm proud of. Lastly, I will say that I'm embarrassed that as a city council, I wasn't aware that this practice has been going on since I've been elected to here. I've been now on for 4 years, and had I known about this in 2014 or 2015, I would have taken the same position. I'm happy to hear that we have contacted Pierce Animal Control and told them that of our concerns. Thank goodness we did not have a child or animals that we're aware of be caught in this trap. This is a good first step, and I'm certainly happy to vote in favor of it.
Councillor Deniers, I had you in the queue.
Thank you, Your Worship. I agree with all the comments made around the table from my colleagues, and you know, I too am a proponent for humanity to animals, and but as a councillor, I'm not sure what the appropriate option is. We had Mr. Finkel as a deputation saying that this trap should be used only as a last resort. Well, I'm not an expert at what that last resort might be, and I would ask staff, perhaps through Mr. Reed, if our staff is even capable of knowing what that last resort might be and where that line sort of is drawn. And I'm just wondering if, you know, this is a bigger issue than just one, because we deal with a lot of, you know, beavers in Ward 2 as well with the rural setting. And I'm just wondering if whether or not we need a staff report for the options as to what the appropriate trapping, legal trapping measures would look like and be undertaken, and whether or not we need that input from MNR. Like you say, MNR trump City of Belleville regulations. So I'm looking to staff to give me an idea whether or not they can answer that question, used only as a last resort.
So I'll reach out to Mr. Reed to comment on this last resort, and then I'll reach out to the fire chief who wants to comment on another issue. Go ahead, sir.
Through the chair to all of council. You know, I think we sit back and we get complacent in the actions in which we're doing. You know, over the years, it's been best practices just to move forward that. And I think moving forward, you know, there should be a policy and procedure through council on, you know, on how to deal with nuisance beavers as well as, I guess, animals as a whole when it comes to, you know, dealing with the situations. And I mean, coyotes, foxes, and those so forth. You know, setting a policy or procedure might be a good strategy on, you know, given levels of, you know, we started with, in this instance, installing the beaver baffler. There's also technologies out there, beaver cones, which go on the end of culverts and so forth, and you know, kind of different levels of trying different steps before you actually have to use the a trap itself. So.
Okay. And can I reach out to Chief McDonald to comment?
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, just from an emergency management perspective, I guess the last resort is always a checks and balances approach as to what the risk is going to be, or what the outcome will be if we don't manage the situation. And we had a really, Joe and I and Councillor Boyce had a very good meeting with the Finkels and the Knutsons, talking about, sort of that ascending scale of actions that needed to be taken. And when we were concerned about overland flooding, there has been, in severe situations where it's not managed, such as Highway 41 a few years ago, Highway 7, they've had severe washouts that have resulted actually in upwards of millions of dollars of damage. So we're just monitoring those situations to make sure that floodplains aren't created as a result of beaver dams to the point where a sudden failure of the dam would result in a lot of damage to property, to the citizens of Belleville and to the infrastructure of the city of Belleville. So I think that's just, this has started the conversation about how do we manage that, and it's just another risk in our community risk profile. And obviously in our rural part of our municipality, farmers have rights under different legislation to control vermin and animal and destructive animals to their properties, to their crops, and we have to respect the rural component of the city, and I think this amendment brought forward addresses that as well.
Excellent. Any more questions from the floor? Councillor Carr?
Thank you, Mayor Christopher, and certainly I think this is an important issue, and first of all, thank you to the residents for bringing it forward, and it's unfortunate that they had to go through that experience. I think this is a bigger issue, though, as staff is clearly pointing out, and so I'm hoping as Councillor McCaw listens to the discussion that perhaps maybe, I know she amended something on the fly today, if she would be willing to amend a little further. I think a staff report and some development of some policy and procedures, as staff referred to today would be effective. As the motion reads right now, it's Ward 1. The reality is that as we continue to grow our city, we're actually displacing some wildlife one way or another. And we try to do it in a controlled way, and we try to leave natural habitat. And we're seeing that obviously in Boyd Park. It's a very natural setting, but we're also seeing a lot of animals out there. I have residents who've seen coyotes, foxes, and there's even been a couple sightings of a fisher over the course of the summer. And the reality is we continue to urbanize, but then a little further we're into a very rural component where we do have farmers that require some ability to trap, and obviously do so in a humane way, but in a way that's going to complement their agricultural businesses. So we have a unique situation. The one brought forward today was clearly in an urban area and had the potential to really damage infrastructure. At the same token is the trap that was used is not the right way to do it, and appreciate that staff have looked in other options. But again, I think this is a bigger issue, and I think we have to be cognizant of the fact that our municipality varies from place to place, depending on where you live and how those natural habitats interact in urban, suburban, and even rural areas. And so, through you, Mayor Christopher, I would hope that maybe Councillor McCaw would consider that to a motion to allow for staff to develop a full policy that I think in the end will be effective. And certainly with this motion, if you were to amend it, I think it would be an opportunity too for the public, and I know it's caught their attention, to obviously be able to provide comments as well. So in the end of the day, I think we get something that would be effective for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more questions from the floor? So the resolution stands as amended. It says here, all animal leg hold traps and body gripping devices be banned from Ward 1. I have a motion, I have a seconder, we've had good discussion. I have a couple of questions. One question was to the motioner. You said there were 74 cases. Are those 74 cases in Belleville?
There were 74 cases across Canada.
Oh God, all right, that changes. I didn't hear any of those. And then I would need to, I would hope someone's gonna amend everything and send it to staff for a good detailed report, because I have no idea. I'm sure our presentation had to deal with a leg hold trap, because I'm not a hunter, so I'm making a full disclosure. I have no idea what a body gripping device is, and I don't mean that in a sarcastic way. I have no idea what that means. And that is also on the resolution, and I don't want to tie our staff's hands, and then the M&R, and then Ward 1, and then we have a competing issue. So I'm just being sincere and honest with you. Do I hear of anything to move that to staff for a full report? Councillor Deniers.
I'd like to make an amending motion.
Would you like to amend the amending motion?
amend the amending motion to refer to staff so that we can have a fulsome discussion on this regarding a policy and procedure.
Just keep your train of thought. Thank you very much. Just some consultation from staff. So what we have before us, moved by Councillor McCaw, second by Councillor Boyce, is a motion that stands by itself. Okay, if we want to refer it to staff, that has to be a complete different motion. And to get to that exercise, this motion has to be defeated or tabled.
And I'd like a recorded vote on that, please.
Okay, so the motion stands as authored. So use of all animal leg hold traps and body gripping devices be banned from Ward 1. Do I hear a motion? I hear nothing. I don't hear a tabling motion either. Okay, and Councillor McCaw has asked for a recorded vote. When you're ready, Mr. Clerk. You're going to ask me a question about the motion, Councillor Thompson?
Yeah. I have a question. If it does get defeated, can we put another motion on the floor to bring a staff report?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Mr. Clerk, when you're ready.
Councillor Deniers?
No.
Councillor McCaw?
Yes.
Councillor Miller?
No.
Councillor Panchuk?
Yes.
Councillor Thompson?
No.
Councillor Boyce?
Yes.
Councillor Carr?
No.
Mayor Christopher?
No, for the benefit of the animals.
Motion fails.
I'd like to make another motion, please.
Can I'm sorry, go ahead, Councillor Deniers, I'm recognizing you.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. I'd like to make a motion that we refer this for a complete staff report as to what the appropriate and humane legal trappings should be. So staff report on policies and procedures.
Thank you. So it's moved by Councillor Deniers. I have a seconder. Going once, Councillor Carr. Any questions on that resolution, Councillor Boyce?
Will that be for the next meeting so that we can deal with this ASAP?
I can reach out to staff. I'm not sure who's going to be receiving that. 2 weeks down the road, do staff, you're comfortable with that? Bring something back? Excellent. We'll have that for you next meeting. Any more questions on the resolution?
Recorded vote, please.
Yes, sir.
And you, Your Worship.
Oh, I apologize. Yes, Councillor Boyce.
Thank you, Your Worship. In the meantime, between the 2 weeks, can we have a moratorium on any trapping between now and those 2 weeks?
Staff, can you respond to that one?
Through the chair to Councillor Boyce, as of right now, I've asked Ron Pierce, our contractor, not to be doing any of that until further notice.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Okay, if you're ready, Mr. Clerk, we're ready to roll.
Councillor McCaw?
No.
Councillor Miller?
Yes.
Councillor Panchuk?
Yes.
Councillor Thompson?
Yes.
Councillor Boyce?
Yes.
Councillor Carr?
Yes.
Councillor Deniers?
Yes.
Mayor Christopher?
Yes, thank you.
Motion carries.
Okay, good stuff. Notice of motions, seeing none. Announcements. I have a couple really nice ones here. Okay, so going around the queue, seeing nothing at all? Okay. So we almost had record time here. It's 9, almost. Okay, so some announcements, some really good stuff that's happened the last couple weeks on behalf of the corporation and all of council and staff. I've got a couple of 4 proclamations. I would like to proclaim the month of October as Child Abuse Prevention Month in the beautiful city of Belleville. And please help me spreading the word of awareness throughout our community for a worthwhile case. Number 2, I'd like to proclaim the week of October 15 to 21 as Waste Reduction Week in the beautiful city of Belleville. Please do what you can during this week to help reduce the waste in our communities. And number 3, I would like to proclaim the month of October as Occupational Therapy Week in the beautiful city of Belleville. Thank you to all the occupational therapists in our community and doing what you do. I would like to proclaim October the 18th as Early Childhood Educators Day in the beautiful city of Belleville, and thank you for the positive impact you have for our families and for the lives of our children. I would also like to proclaim November as Adoption Awareness Month. Please help me share this good word throughout our community. And some events I had the pleasure of attending last couple of weeks on behalf of fellow council and staff. Attended the Fetal Alcohol Spectrum Awareness Day that was hosted at the Quinte Sports and Wellness Center. They had a very good turnout and a very good guest speaker there also. Also had the pleasure of attending the 60th campaign for the United Way at the food court at the Quinte Mall, and thank you to the United Way and all the volunteers and all the agencies that support the United Way and all the organizations that they support also. Had a great afternoon with the Mayor's Luncheon of the Arts, hosted by the Arts Council. We had a very nice luncheon, and we had some recipients from some awards and some students also that received some awards. Also had the pleasure of attending Orange the World event, the Grand in Quinte at the Belleville Club, and they'll also be holding a vigil in November, and we'll be rolling that out for council and the community to attend. Also went to the grand opening of Ashley's Home Store, which is at the Quinte Mall on the north side, another community partner, a good, strong brand in North America, and lots of local employment there, and the local family also is in town now. Also had the pleasure of being in the audience of seeing the Belleville Sports Hall of Fame inductees, and congratulations to MC Councilor Miller, did a great job, it was very nice, and I'll tell you what, we're growing in leaps and bounds. The event used to be in a hallway, from a hallway went to the Hall of Fame, and now through Director Fleur and his staff, he hosted it in the gymnasium, and I think he had 200 plus people, so congratulations to all the volunteers and the staff at the Quinte Sports and Wellness Center. Also had the pleasure of bringing greetings at the Terry Fox Run at the Lions Pavilion through Vicky Ceramis and all of her volunteers. She's resurrected a great campaign and awareness throughout the country. Great turnout and a very hot day on that morning. Also attended the Battle of Britain Remembrance Day service at the church, and also attended the Belleville Legion Week celebration. There were some awards handed out there also. And I went to the groundbreaking ceremony of the Arbella Seniors Residence, which is on Dundas Street West, down by Dundas and I think it's St. Mary Street. So we have another seniors development coming up. It's absolutely beautiful. I think this is actually phase 1. So there's some good news in the future there. Also attended the Belleville General Hospital Auxiliary AJM, and a big time thank you to all those volunteers that assist throughout the community, the patients and the staff, and the doctors at BGH, and stood in the drive-through at McDonald's Coffee Day support of Alzheimer's Society. That was an experience exercise. That was very nice and good awareness, and they raised some much-needed dollars. Also attended with MPP Todd Smith, the Gleaners Food Bank food sort. And a big-time shout-out and thank you to Susan Quinlan and Gleaners Food Bank and their staff and the hundreds of volunteers that they have in our community. And also attended the grand opening of Live for Today Travel Cafe on North Front Street. Young entrepreneur, which is nice to see, invested in the community, has a travel agency, a nice little coffee shop. Well, on Saturday, attended fundraising event at BGH Gala, and congratulations to everybody that was there. Couldn't really figure out who they were because everybody was all dressed up, but it was a good turnout and much-needed dollars raised for the BGH. And yesterday had a nice fish fry at St. Mark's Church. And also on a weekly and a monthly basis, I have the pleasure of having discussions with future physicians, and we know that we have our doctor recruitment program, and Manager Karen Post and her staff have done a phenomenal job, and hopefully things go well. I'm looking forward to a really nice announcement before the week is over of signing of some brilliant young physicians for our community. And I tremendously say that we lead the province, and thank you to all of council and to staff of the directive of the doctor recruitment program. So we should have some good news, I would say, hopefully by the middle of the end of the week. And that does it for me. So saying that, I would need confirmation bylaw that a bylaw number 2018-157, a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at this meeting held the 24th day of September 2018 be read first, second, and third time and finally passed today. Moved by Councillor Carr, second by Councillor Thompson. All in favor? That's carried. Need a motion to adjourn. Councillor Miller, second by Councillor Carr. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you very much. Have a safe evening.